text 1 character per frame. Putting the battle mode on wait is going to allow me to script fights a little bit easier. So once you pop into either a tech or item menu, the entire battle stops, and it allows you to sort of think about what you're going to input. And we'll use that to great effect here. One thing that I did to manipulate the game before it even started, I deleted all my save files. Because the way that the RNG works in this game, its value is set based on how long you spent on the file select screen. So by deleting all the save files and not going to that screen, we start with an RNG of 0. Quick little menu here too. Changing battle speed, changing background for swag, cursor to memory. So the first little bit of this game is basically just sort of getting into it. There's a couple battles about 5 minutes in. Talk to Marley. Depending on who you talk to, might be a great character, might not be. She does have haste though, which is unique and powerful. So again, we will rename Marley here to a single character. So there's a bit of a trick here that I'm doing. When I talk to this store, I'm holding the start button and the B button at the exact same time. And that's going to close the store menu on the very first frame. We'll be using that for other glitches and skips here in the future, just to save time, because opening and closing the menu is going to save a lot of time in this run. This game is certainly a little broken.
Just a little bit. Just slightly.
So yeah, just a little time save here at the start. You don't have to ride the teleporter as Chrono. You can just talk to Marley and it'll progress as if you had ridden the teleporter. So, yeah, when we deleted the save files and started with an RNG of 0, it basically means that every time that we reload the game, we're going to reload and spend a certain amount of time on the file select screen in order to put ourselves in different RNG windows. Basically, if you think about the value, a value between 0 and 255, that's divided up into 16 different windows, and it varies based on how many party members you have, and a couple other things as well. Sometimes the windows are the same, sometimes they're not. It's just one thing that you get used to when you're playing the game. But after you enter a battle, based on the window you're in, the RNG will sort of normalize to a value based on that window. So there's really just 16 different starting values for each fight. The only thing that's a little bit different is the critical value, which is a different RNG string altogether than your basic RNG. So if you have a battle where criticals are necessary and part of the route, then the fight before that fight has to go perfectly in order for you to have your criticals where you want them. But other than that, you basically just want to make the fights exactly the same every time you play them, and everything should work out. And the real skill to speedrunning this, especially racing it too, is just knowing how to sort of get yourself back on, and knowing when it's appropriate to reset, or when you're really not saving that much more time, and you can just kind of press through and, you know, take the fight as it is. Like, for example, Nisba later, you pretty much never die to that fight, so if you happen to be off RNG, you're going to lose a little bit of time because you don't have your criticals, but you're not really going to die at all. So yeah, this first blue imp fight, I just want to kill them without getting hit. When I put the battle speed to 1, that's going to make it a little bit tighter of a window, but everything just happens a lot faster.
One nice thing that DD did as well is he set the battle cursor to memory, which effectively it remembers where last, if you input attack, tech, or item. And another thing that enables is actually that if you hold X, it will auto attack the closest target or the default target you target to. You can still choose your target actually after holding X if you do it in a smart way, but that helps a lot, especially with RNG manipulating, because you can make frame perfect inputs that way, which is amazing.
Yeah, frame perfect inputs, and it doesn't ruin your cursor memory at all.
Yep. Yeah, holding X actually doesn't, you can be on tech, for instance, like use attack, and then if you hold X, it doesn't actually delete that you were on tech last, which is amazing as well.
Yeah, and it's helpful for routing, and also if you're in a bad situation where you just need to, like, pop into a menu and think for a half second to make sure you don't die. That $5 donation, kick Lavos' butt. I think we will. Well, we're actually gonna... yeah. We'll be doing something different to Lavos than kicking his butt, but he'll die nonetheless.
We're friendly. We like to heal people. We're not all about the violence in this game.
Yeah, with all the bosses we skip, you could almost call this pacifist.
I wonder if one day that will be possible, like a pacifist run in Chrono Trigger. That'd be super fun, but that probably won't ever happen.
Just nothing but Rage Band? That could be interesting. So there's something about the text in this game where it kind of runs on 4-frame cycles, but it is possible to cancel or like close your text box on the first possible frame.
Mm-hmm.
So really good mashers will, over the course of a run, save a little bit of time over a subpar masher. I myself am a bit of a subpar masher. I kind of change grips to try and mash quickly through certain parts, but I like my wrists. I want to keep them.
Can recommend not trying to overdo it. I did that once and broke my wrist, so yeah.
So as it stands right now, we're still on RNG. This is something you'll probably hear me say a bunch during the run, whether I'm on or off RNG. And that just means that, as it stands right now, every battle that I enter, as long as I do the same attacks in the same way, every other battle will follow the same way.
Yeah, it's all pre-routed out, and ideally, you never reset to reload the RNG, but there is, if you get off, there is a bunch of spots in the game where you can save and reload to get back on it, so let's hope we don't have to do that a lot. But,
yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you have to do it, it's not really the end of the world. It's about, like, 10-second time loss, which is alright. It's better than trying to fight these battles without RNG manipulation.
Alright, so we're just going to grind a couple fights here so we can learn the techs, which will make the rest of the fights in this section nice and quick.
Yep. This is about the only grind section in this game, actually, I think.
We get a critical here.
So far so good, but yeah, what he's aiming to do is like learning the first two texts with the characters, which will enable him to learn Fire Whirl, which is a double tech that Chrono and Luca have. The main reason to do that is actually we're about to head to a place called the Cathedral, and the first battle there, the enemies are actually very resistant to physical attacks, and only magic can really damage them. So even though we can RNG manipulate everything, if you do it with physical attacks, the fight would just last forever. So that justifies getting the first 2 techs for the characters here, just so we have some way of casting magic onto those enemies, and you'll quickly see why as well.
Yeah, fire will kind of burn them a little bit. Walking into the trigger where the fight starts in a certain way, so hopefully these characters will get into position a little bit faster. There's a lot of micro movements that will save you a little bit of time.
Yeah, that's pretty much the advanced tech for this game, as movement is a huge part of, obviously, of the speedrun. It might not seem that way because, you know, you think RPG and, come on, it's an RPG, you just, like, go up, down, left, right? No, this game actually has very particular movement, and you can save a lot of time by doing certain movements here and there to minimize people or your party, you know, gathering up, or, you know, minimizing moving the time it takes for them to move into a cutscene and stuff like that. And there's a lot of stuff like that that will, over the course of the run, probably add up to a minute or 2 if you do everything.
And it's one of those things where you need to practice it a whole bunch. So generally I try and go for all the little micro time saves, and over time, eventually I will get good enough where they will actually save time.
Mm-hmm.
So another rename down to 1 character.
Yeah, the renaming only really saves a lot of time for Chrono, Marlon, Luca, like, realistically.
Yeah.
The other characters, like, he's going to rename Frog and Ayla still, but I think you're just gonna leave Robo as is, right? Because I believe for any percent especially, Robo doesn't really get mentioned that often, so...
No, I still do it just on convention, but yeah. I probably don't have to. Ayla's a really good one to rename, though, because she refers to herself in the third person a lot.
Yep, that's true.
First instance of Fade Out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so in the Cathedral we're going to see a lot of glitches, and Didi already performed the first one here. Whenever you enter a screen transition, the screen will not automatically lock you, and, you know, you can't do anything anymore. It will slowly fade out. What you can do during those fade outs is you can actually still open your menu, and, you know, if you close the menu afterwards, the fade out will start anew. So what you can do is you can still move as well, and during those fade outs, you can try to activate certain triggers. Like, he picked up a power tab there. Usually if you pick up a power tab, the game paralyzes you and gives you the got power tab text, but if you do that fade out that he did there properly, you will actually not even get that, but still receive the power tab. And based on that, fade outs are going to be used for all kinds of different things, like skipping cutscenes or even skipping bosses, as we're we can also use the fade out to activate another glitch that we are about to see after this battle he's currently in. This battle doesn't have a lot to it. These henches also are not vulnerable to physical attacks, so having Fire Whirl here definitely helps, but yeah, pretty straightforward right there.
Little randomizer muscle memory, I almost went and picked up the chest.
Yeah, DT and I race a lot of randomizer of this game, so being thorough is actually kind of in our head, but yeah. For any percent, you want to be as on point as possible, so...
Very much. Safety save for marathon safety. By using the fade out and getting onto a save point, I should be able to save in this next screen and bypass a whole boss fight. I'm also gonna take all of Luca's clothes off.
So yeah, what he did there, basically, he used the fade out to get onto the save point, which enables a glitch called the Save Anywhere glitch. As long as you transition into a room that doesn't have another save point, the game will think you are still standing on that save point you left the other room in. So what that enables you to do is you can literally save anywhere. And we use this on this Yakra boss fight right here to save and reload. What that does is usually this cutscene is supposed to paralyze you and you're supposed to get into the boss fight. But if you come out of the save in a good position, the game will actually forget to paralyze you, and you can still move around as you saw. And then you make Yakura appear off screen, and boom, it skips the boss fight. He also did a bit of micromanagement there. There's another tech in this game that is called text canceling. Whenever people talk and they are on screen, if you push them off screen, their text will actually disappear. So what he did there in a couple of instances when Lean and Yakura talked, for instance, he tried to make them start talking and then immediately leave them off screen, so the text box immediately cancels out, which is another very nice time save right there. But yeah, with this save anywhere glitch, we're going to have a lot of fun. There's a lot of other instances where you can save and skip certain sections or certain bosses, so that's pretty much the main thing right there. And you might have also noticed he did a small menu before he actually did save on the trigger there. And in this game, you're not supposed to be able to actually have no armor equipped. Like, it's supposed to be giving you a beep noise and say, hey, no, you can't do that. You cannot just, have no armor on. However, this game also has a slight bit of lag in the menu. So if you can basically put your cursor on, let's say we're on Chrono and he can equip an accessory, you can move up, you can actually, get up the equipment menu from him, switch accessories however you want. If you put your cursor on this accessory slot and then press R and up at the same time, you'll end up on Lucca's armor. And if you do it on the same frame, the game will still think that you are on Chrono's accessory slot that he can switch out. However, since we have no armor, we're not supposed to be able to unequip Lucca's armor that way. Yeah, since the game still thinks that we're on the accessory slot, you can actually access Lucca's armor and unequip her armor that way. Which, again, you're not supposed to be able to do that. Now, what does that actually do for us? Well, unequipping armor in this game is a nice treat. It is actually different between US and Japanese version, but in general, what happens is you get a huge magic boost. Like, his magic power just increased immensely just by unequipping the armor, because the game can't handle that the characters have no armor on. Additionally, he got resistance to lightning, ice, and shadow, which is pretty significant. If you take, let's say, 100 damage from a lightning spell, usually with an unequipped glitch, you will take 10 damage.
Yeah.
It's that big. So that is going to help out immensely as well. It's not really a catch. Like, there is like one thing you gotta be aware of. This does not mean you have fire resistance. That's the one thing you are not getting out of the unequipped glitch, is fire resistance. So that is something to pay attention to, because some enemies obviously have fire spells, and just because you're unequipped, you're not invulnerable. So that is something to keep in mind.
You will take more damage from base physical attacks too, but not like nearly as much as a fire attack. So we're on our way to the trial. Just have to make our way there. Didn't get the candy skip earlier, so we can just run right through this screen. Yeah, there was one other trick that I was doing there, which was using the save anywhere that I used to skip the Yakra skip, and I saved and reloaded to get past a bird fight there. Saves a couple seconds, but I'm gonna have to reload actually coming up here in the thing, because I don't think I hit my reload correctly on that load. But what I was saying before about RNG windows and saving and reloading to get certain windows, there's a lot of glitches that you use where you're going to save and reload anyway. So you just use that opportunity to set yourself up on the correct window in order to progress further. So here in the trial, We're basically just mashing through text. We're going to make a couple choices when we're responding to the Chancellor, and we're hoping that RNG is going to allow us to become guilty, because guilty will save us about 8 seconds on text. But Pierre here, he is the defense lawyer extraordinaire, and he'll probably get us off for this heinous crime. Yeah, first thing, the Chancellor's going to ask if it was our fault or her fault. We're going to blame the girl. And then the next thing that he's going to ask us is if we were tempted by her money, and we'll say yes, even though we weren't. Chrono's a down-to-earth kind of guy.
I mean, who wouldn't want money? Come on, man.
Looking at how my text is running out, I'm not sure if my cart's actually seated in the console right. There's like a weird sort of jump on the way that my text is writing out. Hopefully it's not going to affect anything.
Good way to make me nervous, thank you.
I'll just make sure to do some safety saves. We did get guilty, luckily. It really comes down to the second juror here on whether you become guilty or not guilty. Based on the answers that you give, you're going to get 3 guaranteed guilty, 3 guaranteed not guilty. And if you don't talk to the young girl about her cat, or if you don't eat the old man's chicken, the second juror here is just pure RNG. I think the odds are like 51 to 49% in favor of not guilty. It's essentially 50-50, but not quite. Alright, so this whole section here in the prison escape, there's going to be a lot of fight skips, and if we get the RNG manipulation correctly, we'll have a really awesome dragon tank fight. So like I said earlier, the one fight before a fight with manipulated crits has to be perfect. So by reloading, I'm going to have to reload here just to make sure I'm on the right window. But by reloading and then getting into one fight, I'll be set up perfectly for the dragon tank fight, and I'm going to skip every other fight in order to preserve that perfect RNG for the fight. There's a couple sneaky guards that might get in the way later on, but we'll see how I handle them.
I got this.
They're really only dangerous if you go for, like, YOLO risky strats.
Yep.
Alright. So the reload here might not look like much, but it's going to set me in a perfect window. For 2 reasons. Like I said, it's going to help with the dragon tank fight, but it's also going to give me a highest possible damage roll. And with the 2 power tabs and the steel saber I put on Chrono, that's going to be exact damage to kill this guard.
Yep. To put the reloads here a little bit into perspective, he had to reload in a window between 0.4 to 0.7 seconds, which runners usually have like setups for this kind of stuff. As you saw him do, like he just went up and down in the menu once, and then he knows it's good. Others use like metronomes or stuff like that. It varies from runner to runner what they use for their reloads, but that's the kind of tech you need to know for this game.
This bridge fight here that I'm fading out, it would actually be quicker to get into it, but because I have the proper RNG window for the boss fight, I don't want to get into it.
Yep. So he's using the fade out to actually activate the fight, but that will actually not advance the RNG. What advances the RNG is actually, you know, the battle window coming up and then you running away. So this works out very nicely for us here.
This guy.
Yeah, these cards are random. There's 2 of them that we have to get past, and they move randomly based on how many frames you are currently played the game, essentially. So there is no good way to actually manipulate going through this quickly. You just gotta get lucky, essentially.
See if we can get this in one fade out. No, just missed it.
Wow. Yeah, another thing that is, of course, a big part of the speedrun is, you know, minimizing the fade outs you need in order to, you know, hit your target. May it be a battle skip or, you know, a boss skip or whatever. You kind of want to maximize the amount you walk during your fade outs, but it can also be very dangerous because if you drop it, you know, you just start at the screen transition and then you gotta go all over again. Taking the safety mid-tonics. I see. And safety save. Oh my god. Man. Going all out on safeties here.
Yeah, I really didn't need the mid-tonics, but the safety save is pretty good for marathon safety.
Yeah.
I'd have to start right back where I woke up in the prison cell.
That is true.
So yeah, Chrono's gonna get 2 big fat crits here.
This is where the RNG manipulation is going to show really big time for the first time in the run. Dragon Tank usually is a hugely annoying boss, and you're kind of supposed to, you know, get rid of the wheel and the middle part by using Fire Whirl, which is also the backup strat in case you're not on, you know, RNG manipulation. However, with RNG manipulation, you can get or draw out these crits right here that he just got, and then, you know, it will line up perfectly that you can kill the head first, which is significantly faster than having to go through all the fire whirls and stuff, and maybe even have to heal up. With RNG manipulation, you obviously don't have to heal at all in this battle. There's one catch. Most of the time it's routed in a way where, you know, you can take actions whenever the enemy takes an action, so you don't actually lose time in it. But the last fire whirl in this battle is kind of tight. It's not too bad, but you gotta be, you know, paying attention and do that in a reasonable amount of time. Yeah, you got it. Easy peasy.
Yeah, there was a... Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going ahead. He also did a little trick in the battle there. During one of the attacks when he used Cyclone, he stayed in Luca's tech menu, which actually, for some weird reason, canceled out one of the boss's attacks that he was supposed to do, which is pretty interesting. You can do that in a couple different spots as well, but there's still... we know about this for a while now, but I'm pretty sure we still need to do a little bit of research as to what is possible with that technique here and there.
Yeah, I think it also kind of matters what hardware you're playing on. It's one of those weird sort of how the game handles like stacked events.
Yeah, for sure.
But needless to say, we skipped an attack.
Yeah, we did skip an attack, which is actually a pretty huge time save. I say huge, but yeah, I don't want to say... I mean, it's a very optimized game, but in an optimized game like this, it's everything matters. Every little thing you can think of matters for a good time. There's always a way, of course, to optimize things even further, but yeah, we're looking at a game that is already pretty darn optimized at this point.
Yeah, if you play perfectly, there's like 2 or 3 spots that are actual RNG. Other than that, it's just down to execution.
Pretty much, yeah. Which is very untypical for an RPG. Although, in this day and age, there's a lot of RPGs that, you know, find ways to RNG manipulate a lot of things, but yeah.
Yeah, actual random number generators on these old consoles don't really exist. So it's got to draw a value or a conclusion from somewhere. Alright, to the future. So we're heading into Lab 16 here. There's a couple really neat tricks to walk over battle triggers. You basically just fill the game's RAM up with a bunch of things in queue, and it won't be able to handle all the possible triggers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a chest and have a rat steal from me so that I can walk over certain battle triggers and save a bunch of time. Yeah, that was an awesome Lab 16. It's one of the best parts about this game is, you know, you've got your tech smashing, and then all of a sudden you have this, like, really intricate platforming section. I mean, intricate might be a bit of an over-exaggeration, but for an RPG, it's pretty tough to get exactly right. So we're gonna go into the basement and pretend to fight another boss.
What do you mean, pretend?
It's another use of the fade-out glitch, but this room is unique to any other room in the game. If you press the X button, which is the only menu button we have access to right now, you'll get into a fight, so I'm actually gonna have to swap my controls here.
Yep.
Just so that my menu's on a different button.
Yep.
So I just swapped it to A. There's a lot of players these days that will actually just play with swap controls right from the start, because it will save you a whole menu, having to swap it back.
Yeah, and I can recommend like trying to rearrange your controls. Having menu on X is, I mean, DD is pretty much only keeping it because he started to run with that. Like, and it's really, really difficult to, you know, run a game for like, let's say a year or two and then suddenly switch controls. I mean, I got as far as swapping X and Y, which is about everything I can do, but I would definitely recommend trying out like L and R and stuff like that if you want to start learning this game. To switch on all of those around, because it just makes more sense to have fade out buttons and start very close to each other, which with X is kind of a bit in a bad spot, so you have to like use a very bad grip. But yeah, most runners this day and age, especially if you watch Red Slash, his control scheme is pretty wacky. But yeah.
Yeah, he has his run button bound to L so that he could do one-handed movement.
Yep.
It's pretty neat.
But it's really, really hard to, you know, if you run a game for a year or two and then change controls all of a sudden, the time to get used to that is just like, it's impossible. What's the recommend though? If you're new, go for it.
Yeah, learn the best stuff if you're just starting out. Might as well. There's a lot of bad muscle memory I'm still trying to erase from when I learned the game.
Oh yeah. We also skipped another cutscene here, or the first half of the cutscene essentially, where you have to watch Lawas, you know, destroy the world and all that good stuff. But instead, we're just standing in the console and, you know, having a good time.
Yeah, it's like a minute and a half it saves too. This is a pretty big save.
Yeah. This is a pretty long cutscene for sure. So if anybody's wondering, well, if you can do this fade out stuff, why don't you just skip every boss in this game? It's not that easy, sadly.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you fade out into triggers, they won't actually, hit the switch and be like, hey, you just, finish this fight. Or in some instances, you might even soft lock if you do the fade out stuff. So some bosses, it's just like not possible to do that on, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think this game really shows it. If you pay attention, a lot of the zones and the triggers are all programmed a little bit differently based on whoever made them. Like, early in the game, there's a bunch of really weird stuff at the Millennial Fair that's sort of like, you could tell this is developers learning how to use the engine that they've created for the game. So certain bosses you can fade out, certain bosses you can save anywhere. Some bosses you just have to fight. So, I don't know. Does everyone here like speed racing? Street racing?
I love racing, man.
So we're about to race the man himself.
We're going for 2000, right?
We'll try. I think my PB is like 1800.
Yeah, I have a video of like a 1900. I'm super proud of that, man. Hey, this little mini game coming up here, but essentially just, it's pretty much just a small racing game. However, it does kind of matter how far ahead you are of your opponents, because the further you're ahead, the faster the race actually goes. It's a minimum time save, but as you know, this is a game where you have to watch on the milliseconds. You want to, of course, stay ahead of him as much as you can. The little tricky part is to actually win the race at the end. You don't want to put yourself in a position where he will finish ahead of you no matter what, just because you try to stay ahead of him. So TD has to be a little bit careful on that.
He's psyching me out. Johnny, stop. You can get a lot of bounces on the front if you get the right setup.
Yeah, the key to this race is pretty much at the start of the race. If you can stay ahead of him there, you got a good thing going. If he gets ahead of you one or two times, it's really tough to get back into a good spot. And we won the race, easy peasy.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Mario Kart 64 race, though. No matter how far ahead you are, there's always someone right behind you.
Yep. And yeah, let's not forget that we are still trying to manipulate RNG, so by not getting into any extra fights, DD is guaranteed some crits here from Marl. He put the Berserker on her. The Berserker is a very nice accessory. It is pretty obvious what it does. It berserks your character. But that doesn't only, increase your attack power in this game, it also increases your defense power, which is actually a very interesting component of a Berserker. I don't think any other game does it that way. And that actually kind of helps us out a little bit in our manipulation routing here and there. So obviously the character becomes uncontrollable. But another very big upside of the Berserker is, we talked about, holding X for frame perfect inputs in battles, which is nice and all, but there is still like a very small delay when you select your attack, even by holding X. The Berserker, however, does actually give you a small ATB advantage every time the character's turn comes up, because you don't have to select the attack, which is also very, very interesting for RNG manipulation, and a very interesting factor right there, because the Berserker essentially lets you save a little bit of time over your enemy that you're fighting. And that also, of course, comes in very, very handy when trying to RNG manipulate certain things. Yeah. It's one of the main tools that we're going to be utilizing throughout the whole run.
Yeah, like for example, if you queued up like two characters' attacks, they would just unfold in order. But sometimes if you queue up an attack and then a Berserk was supposed to happen right away, the Berserk might actually sneak ahead of the attack that's queued up. So you can actually get like almost a quarter of an ATB bar snuck ahead just by the virtue of how a Berserker works. Definitely failed renaming Robo there. You have an Abo. This game's going to give us an option of who's going to stay behind, and luckily you can just mash and it'll pick the right character. They're not running here. That's the only way that you can trigger that fight is if you're running. And this will be the last manipulated fight here. Getting a beefy crit from Robo.
Yeah, these acid slimes are usually very tough to kill. They have incredibly high defense, and it's super RNG what your damage roll is going to be. But since we can manipulate this fight specifically, you just get a 10 damage crit, and it's all done. They have 10 HP, so. But yeah, you can also end up, if you do not manipulate, like everybody could just do 1 damage at a time, and it would take forever. So having the manipulation right here is definitely very, very helpful. Unfortunately, you know, there's like one specific thing in this game that is really difficult to manipulate, and you know, we ran away from a battle just now, and coming up is a 5 slime battle where the pattern of what slimes you actually get is random. There is red and green slimes, and ideally you want to get 5 greens, but it is frame-based. DD is actually trying to go for a manipulation here to get the 5 greens. He's sitting in his menu and checking his in-game timer in order to have a shot at actually getting the 5 greens. Let's see if it was actually successful or
It's
not.
a frame-perfect input, and you have to react exactly to it. But that was a really quick setup, so even if I get a 4 green, I think that'll still be worth it.
For sure. The green slimes only have 9 HP. If they are close to a red slime, though, they will counter-attack if you attack them. Oh, baby!
It just happened. Nice.
So yeah, like I said, these slimes only have 9 HP. They have way less defense, so this is the ideal scenario, and this is actually way worth it. He should have a fantastic battle here, just annihilating those slimes. Since there's no red slimes, he can't get any counterattacks either, so this is perfect, absolutely perfect.
Luca with the 1 roll. And he attacked Robo too, so technically I don't need to heal here. I think I'm gonna heal for marathon safety, but yeah, that's like pretty good fight. Funny little thing about entering this password, if you just hold all the buttons, the game will input them in the right order for you.
That is something, funnily enough, we discovered, like, I mean, maybe a year and a half ago, you know, and we've been speedrunning this game for multiple years now, so, yeah, that was a pretty fun discovery. When I don't even remember who came into Discord and was like, hey, did you know that you can just hold the buttons? What?
I'd like to say it's Audivino, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Yeah, that was pretty good. You know, play a game for like multiple years and then suddenly somebody comes along like, hey, it doesn't actually like, you know, save time or anything, but it's pretty hilarious.
For me, it saves time. I'm so bad at putting those passwords in. Okay, we'll do the heals here anyway. Really don't need to, but just in case. The R-Series fight is very dangerous. If anything goes wrong, I could die.
Yep. The thing with this next boss battle is, you know, usually we're all about RNG manipulation, but since the slime fight is so, you know, volatile, manipulating R-Series is really, really difficult. Plus, the R-Series is also really fast compared to you, so your inputs need to be on point. And DD actually doesn't know what kind of window he has, so he needs to be especially on point, because ATB differs depending on what RNG value you have currently going, so we'll have to see how this battle unfolds. And hopefully we don't get any anything bad here. Now he did pick up the mid tonics in before Dragon Tank, so he should be safe no matter what, because he could just heal if you know things go badly. But yeah, also blocking the robot.
Yeah,
what a friend.
With my face. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting room. There's some pretty glitched TAS runs of this game. And the wall that pushes you back only affects Chrono. So if you somehow are able to get here with a different character in party 1 position, you can actually just run through this room and not have to fight them. Alright, so I want to hit my Cyclone really quickly here. That's the main thing in this fight. If my first Cyclone's slow... Oop, that was really fast, so we should be good. If the first Cyclone's slow, this fight can go very bad. The main thing we're trying to do is kill the back row before they get another chance to attack. And we got that.
Yeah, once you kill one robot in this battle, if you attack other robots after that, they will start counterattacking, so you want to be really, really careful on how you approach this battle. Because they hurt very badly.
And I think this is the first instance of setting a memory cursor without actually using the ability. Just making sure Luca's on the next attack she's going to need to do, so that I can mash the attack instead of having to menu and lose a little bit of time.
I hit a Phoebe, I see. No pressure.
Yeah, 5 greens definitely helps that. With, like, almost no time to set it up either. The problem is you need to know roughly where you are based on the rollover if you're going to go for the slime manip. And where the window is, like, where I'm at right now is a pretty, like, mediocre time. I'm actually a little bit behind. So if you're on really, 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 like, god pace, you could probably go for it in a run. Otherwise, you're probably just best off dealing with what the game gives you.
Yeah. The rollover on a quote-unquote perfect run is, like, very close, so if you're just slightly behind on that, you might not want to even try, because it takes forever.
Yeah. One of the things that I do is when I save before the slime fight in the room before, I take a look at my timer, and then I open up the menu, and if I see that I've already rolled over, then there's just no point. Close my menu, just move on, as we would. But again, it's a minor time save when it comes down to it, unless it works perfectly, and then you might save, like, you know, a good 10-15 seconds. So now that the game gives us some sort of world lore as to why we weren't able to all fit in the portal, I'm just pretty sure it's because Robo's a bit of a bigger robot. Alright. So, most people who play this game casually are never going to see Frog Form Specchio. This is really only going to happen if you skip every single possible fight before this point in the game. You need to be under level 10, and generally you'll be like level 12 to 15 at this point.
Yeah, especially because in a casual run you also don't skip the bosses, and the bosses are the main source of experience, so...
Yeah.
You generally end up being a little bit over that. And In the DS version, Frog Specchio is actually also in the bestiary, so if you played that casually and missed that, you can restart your game.
Fair enough.
Not that I would have ever done that before, but yeah.
I guess that means Pink News in the bestiary too.
Oh yeah, he sure is.
So now we have to skip Specchio. We don't want to fight him. The Masher's Lament.
Yep. Specchio is actually kind of a neat little thing. You can test your magic on him. Even if you die, it means nothing. And if you win against him, you actually get rewards depending on the form. The first one, the frog form, gives you a magic type, which is not too bad, and he's easy to take out. However, for a speedrun, we don't really need that at all, so we don't really care too much about that.
A little bit of cake and dash. Don't want to hear these guys talking.
Yeah, so in a lot of instances when the game is supposed to paralyze you, you activate that specific trigger, and then if you are still able to switch party members, you can actually forego that paralysis entirely, which that's what he made use of there by activating the cake. That's supposed to, let you paralyze you and team you up. But if you switch character positions during that animation, you can actually just dash and be fine. Saves a little bit of time right there, because usually DMs give you the whole dialogue about forgive and forget and stuff. But yeah.
Learning Antipode here is actually pretty crucial. This is one of the few times that Luca and Marley are going to be in the party together.
Yep.
And these runaways are actually very tight. I don't think we've talked about the quick runaway, but basically I'm going to open up my battle menu, wait in it a little bit, and then pop back out. And while you're in the battle menu, your runaway counter just keeps going up. So you can run away from enemies and hopefully not get any extra attacks. With the Berserker on Marley, that's more what I'm trying to outrun here.
Yeah. For this part of the game, RNG manipulation is actually not that essential, because we have to use the save anywhere in a little bit to skip bosses anyways, and you don't have to fight any encounters on the way, so just running away and, not caring about your RNG here is pretty easy. But yeah, for later on, if we generally if later on we want to, we want to get through the battles in a way where we don't get any extra attacks, or otherwise our RNG might be screwed. So that's going to be a very essential tech to that, because, staying in the tech menu since we're on wait will also not advance the ATB. Alright.
Should be good.
Yeah, it looked good.
So this is kind of the same thing as Yakra. We start the boss fight with the boss off screen, using the save anywhere glitch to retain control while we're in the boss room.
Now, the key to this boss skip is actually you need to be in a very specific position to even get over the trigger that starts the boss fight normally. And yeah, we are using the save anywhere there, and then you want to run into Hackren to actually that actually triggers his death animation that he has after the battle usually. The thing is that the game is kind of coded weirdly, so to actually have access to the next part of the game, you need to enter this battle. So what we do is we activate that Hackren dissolves, and then activate the battle. As you saw, he ran back into the battle. So the game actually knows, okay, you actually advanced the story, so we can actually make you go to the next place. It's kind of a weird thing with Hackren especially, but yeah, that's how that works.
End of time save anywhere. This is a pretty tough trick. It's not impossible, and if you learn it, it's actually very repeatable. But there's a lot to it that can go wrong.
Yeah, so what he does here, he opens Gaspar's text box, and then usually it's supposed to cancel out when you go to the gates, but he opens the menu just at the right time to maintain the text box, and then holds A to activate the gate. And very nice, very nice. We got it. Yeah, if the text box is up and you hold A, you can activate the gate and store it, and then activate the HP MP restore while the text box is still up, and you get into a position where if you hit the right frame on the text canceling or like advancing the text box, pressing the A button, the game is supposed to usually paralyze you if you use a gate, but like completely, you're not supposed to be able to open the menu or anything. It will still paralyze you. However, if you do everything correctly and you have a 3 in 4 chance to do so, like it's 3 in 4 frames that are good for you, I think.
Yeah.
And if you hit the right frame, you can still open your menu while you're supposed to be drawn into the gate. And if you do that and switch characters, I talked about it with Cake and Dash in a little bit. If you switch positions, you get unparalyzed. So what you can do is just stand on the save point right there and get safe anywhere that way. The save anywhere saves about 30 seconds from the conventional one that we used to do, which is going back into the cathedral and get it there. It's a little bit more involved, as DD said, and it's a lot to take in, but yeah, that's a very, very nice way to actually get the save anywhere right there.
Right, so another boss skip, but this is almost just a trigger skip, so that we'll never actually see the boss trigger at all.
Yeah. This one's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, the inputs are super precise, though.
Yeah. The main thing about these trigger skips, like whenever you want to go over a trigger, so Chrono moves whenever he dashes in, 2 pixels at a time. Whenever he walks, he doesn't quite do that, So what you want to do for these skips, whenever you want to skip something, is you want to kind of do a thing we call a B release, or maybe 2 B releases, depending on, where your position is, so that you get in the ideal position to actually be able to skip over these triggers, and I think he did a very good job right there. I'm a little bit on a delay, so I gotta wait to see if it actually worked. But yeah, we got a very nice Umbra skip right here. So yeah, whenever you release the B button, you stop dashing, obviously, and just move by a little bit. And with these B releases, we can get into the ideal positions to try and skip over those triggers, which is a bit of an involved technique, but it's relatively easy to learn once you understand the concept of it. Also going to confuse the game here a little bit by saving on a lower layer here and reloading, which we're not supposed to do. The game, once you reload, doesn't know what layer to put you on, so you can just skip up and skip the Tata cutscene right here. It's a very nice thing to do. And DD will also have to maintain RNG from here on out by using a Berserker too. So he's going to have to focus a little bit here in this first battle to actually see if or what reload he got, and then depending on what he got, he will need to adjust his runaway a little bit. So hopefully he can maintain the RNG here.
Yeah, I got the later window, which loses a tiny bit of time, but it's still fine. This is one of those situations where there's 2 different windows where you can still end up on the same ending value.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, the Netoro Mountains is the first area where we have to skip a lot of encounters. There's a lot of battles on this mountain. If you played it casually, you know well. The fights here just don't end, but we are not going to have any of that. Not anything. We are just going to try to run to the boss right now, and this is the place that, made learning this game really, really fun, because, it's such a slow area in casual, but you can just breeze through it if you, know where to go.
But what about the silver stuff, you might ask? We don't need that.
Yeah, we're manipulating, so even with manipulation at the start, when we kind of tried to refine manipulations, we still got the silver stuff, which is very useful, obviously, but as the game got further optimized, it became less and less necessary until we dropped it entirely.
Alright. This fight's super dangerous. I'm gonna focus and make sure that I do everything correctly.
Yeah, you do that. So yeah, all this setup with the reload and stuff, so we can get into this boss battle, which is essentially 2 boss battles back to back. We have first Massa slash Mune, and then Massa and Mune. The first battle is relatively straightforward, but since he does have the Berserker on, he does need to pay attention to a lot of that he gets a lot of his inputs in just in time. You have actually very little room for error with this because, you know, yeah, if the Berserker person gets ahead, everything can get screwed up, so he will need to have focus for a little bit here. Alright, looks good to me.
Yeah, we should be fine.
Chrono should get attacked, and yep. Good stuff. So the first part here is relatively easy. You only really need to deplete the HP wheel of one of the twins, so we're choosing to do the left one, because if you attack the right one, they counterattack. So obviously, the left one just plain better. And now this is becoming the actual difficult part, the second phase, which is also the first boss that is really, you know, in casual, a real difficult boss. So this guy will generally move left and right between your characters and, you know, attack whoever he's closest to, depending on the RNG. Since we're manipulating the RNG, of course, we want to have him in a very specific spot. And what we're going to be aiming to do here is pretty much take as few attacks as possible, because depending on what you do, you can also send him left to right at certain points, minimizing the amount of MC attacks, actually. And in a perfect battle, you actually never see him go into his phase where he stores up the tornado energy. We might still get to see that at the very end, depending on how the fight unfolds, but yeah.
Yeah, all the ATB looks good. We're through the crunch part now.
Again, he needs to be very precise with his actions in a couple of spots, just because, you know, Berserker.
Yeah. And also in this fight, Masamune attacks based on proximity. So if you don't make your inputs correctly, he can slide closer to a character and choose a different target than what you want. So you really want to make sure all your inputs are made during the animation of other attacks, otherwise you can fall off script. Which is why this fight is especially dangerous. Yeah, no heals at all in this fight, just tanking all the hits. No pressure, I'm over a minute ahead of my PB right now.
Nice work, dude.
There's still a lot of game to go, though.
Yeah. It's about the halfway point, roughly, plus minus a couple things. The end of the run has a very rough trick and a lot of cutscenes to it, so that's about like 15 minutes. So an hour and we're at about halfway point of, you know, action stuff. Until we get to the climax at the end, pretty much.
Nisbel almost doesn't even count as a boss. He's so easy. Thanks to the unequip. Let me clarify that.
I was about to say you're setting yourself up for failure here. So easy. What a free boss, and then yeah. But yeah, he's right. Nisbel is essentially free.
Alright, so this is one of the biggest menus in the game. Just want to make sure I do everything correctly here.
Yep. for now, only really Luca has the unequip going, so what we're going to be doing here is we're going to try to unequip every other character as well. In order to do that, we have to have, of course, no armor in the actual inventory, so we can actually not select any other armor. As you can see, you can also do it the reverse order, not going R and up at the same time, but you can go LM down as well. So that's what DD is doing here. Okay, there we go. And we got one more unequip. And then we also want to stock up on consumables right here as well, for the rest of the game, essentially. There we go. Good job. The reason we choose this shop is actually very interesting, because you could just do this at the other shop that is a little bit north to this as well. The good thing about this shop is really the shopkeeper doesn't talk, so you save a lot of time by not having a text box there.
Yeah, especially with having to go in and out of the shop multiple times.
Definitely, yeah.
Blessed.
Oh man, that's one.
Yeah, it's a 1 in 8 chance, roughly, on whether that new shows up. While we don't fight him in the run, it's still pretty awesome to see the new just say hi and give us his blessings.
Yeah, the new blesses the run for sure.
These frogs at the start actually don't have a battle trigger on them, at least on the Super Nintendo version.
Yep, they fixed that in the DS version. I'm not sure if they fixed it on Steam, actually. You would probably know.
I don't think I tried. I just assumed that they were a fight.
Makes sense.
So, it's pretty funny here. There's no required reloads for quite some time. And as long as I keep myself from getting into any extra fights and have my battles go correctly, I should be able to keep my RNG until near the end of the game.
Yep. Do you reload for Retinite? I assume you do in this category, right? I don't actually know that.
You can fail the bird skip and end up on the same RNG as well.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Well, I would go for that.
It's a little bit slower, though.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean...
We're talking, like, very small amount of time. But apparently it's slower, so I've been told. So we're just going to use another fade-out glitch here to talk to Melchior, or pretend to talk to Melchior.
Yep. Skipping another cutscene that would take a long amount of time, actually, because Melchior doesn't really stop talking. If you are not sure whether you got this text skip or actually talk to him, you can save here and it will actually change the chapter of the save file, so that's one way to tell if you actually got it or not, if you're uncertain. It's a very nice thing.
Alright, so this is a little bit risky, but since we're on PB pace, I'm just going to go for it. I would heal here and just make sure, but these fights I shouldn't be attacked. Shouldn't.
And the Reptile fights are actually kind of interesting, especially the setup for the first one, simply because the way they move in battle actually depends on where you advance the second text box here, or when you do it. So he waited a little bit there to make the second Reptile from the left move upwards so his slash can actually kill both of the left Reptiles at the same time. Which is very peculiar, honestly.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with the 4-frame text box cycle again. I'm not exactly sure why it does, but I remember when I was first learning, I kept on reloading and doing the fight and reloading and doing the fight and wondering why I wasn't on the right RNG. Turns out it's something completely different.
Yep. That being said, if you don't get the Reptile to move up, a second slash actually doesn't really mess up the RNG you were supposed to have for this spell at the end, so you can still roll with it. It's just a time loss at this point.
Oh,
These fights are very generous that way.
it's bad.
That ain't good though. You went for it, huh? Yeah, okay. You can also flame toss those two reptiles, but the faster way is to use slash, because slash is simply a faster animation. Having to do slash though, it's very close to the reptile's ATB, obviously, and he got attacked there. He should still be okay, I think. We will find out once we get to the reptile layer, for sure, but yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't matter too much.
I think you should still be okay. Again, these two fights with the reptiles here are relatively generous when it comes to RNG.
Yeah, it's the experience that I'm worried about on Luca. But
That is a valid point.
yeah, she's under-leveled by 1 level right now. So I might just have to go for old school strats on Nizbel just to be sure that I don't get an extra cycle. I could fight another fight, but then I'd be off RNG.
Do you take Luca? You take Luca for the fights in the reptile layer, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That should be okay then? Maybe? I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about Chrono.
We're dancing. We're dancing.
Thank
We're
you.
Dancing. Yeah, stream delay. Sorry, I would have told you, but yeah.
No big deal.
Gotta have a little party for the being ahead so far of PB, right?
Yeah.
So usually what you're supposed to do for the party here is to put in Robo specifically, because if you have Marl here, it takes a significantly longer amount of time to actually get through this party scene, because she takes a lot longer than Robo does to actually get everything done. There's essentially 2 actions the characters take after you talk to them for the first time, and Marl just takes a lot longer than Robo does doing her thing. She likes to dance. I'm not actually sure how much time this loses, but it's not...
Yeah, it's at least 20 to 5 seconds or so.
Yeah. Let's dance. This is fine.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
It's not so bad. I think I don't need to swap party members now, though. No, I would, actually.
I'm not sure if they put Marl in your party now. No idea. The game is kind of weird sometimes about putting party members in your party when you are forced to select them. You would think that it would always go Marl, Luca, Robo, etc., but it sometimes doesn't, so...
Yeah, there's a lot of times in this run where you'll just swap party members because there's less text based on who's in your party.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a situation where I should have done that, but it's not really going to cost anything in the big picture this time.
Yep.
And here you actually don't want to mash through Ayla's first sleeping text box. You want to close it when you're close enough to talk to her. Otherwise, a second one will pop up and you can't talk to her until you've closed the sleeping text box.
Yep.
Alright. Another fade out glitch for... Oh,
Yeah, this one's actually a bit easier because all you have to do is run into Kino. Usually when you have like cutscene triggers and stuff, or have to talk to a person, you have to actually press A at the end to actually talk to the person, but you can just run into Kino.
Yeah, you can trigger it a little bit quicker if you hit the A button, but it's pretty minimal.
Alright, and then we are in the forest maze. There's, again, a lot of encounters here that we are just all going to skip, because we know where to go to skip them. And in the reptile layer, we are actually going to be able to tell where we are on RNG.
I do that every time. When you press up to go into a door, you think you have to press up to continue in the room, but no.
Yeah, there's going to be 2 forced encounters here, and depending on how they go, we'll be able to tell whether we're on the good RNG or not. Chrono should get hit here. Yep. Looks good to me.
34 and double 253 is where we want to be. And because of the way the first fight went, we should be guaranteed a critical here.
Very nice, yeah. This is going to be good.
Yeah, we'll have the right crits for Ayla, but I think Luca's not going to be doing enough damage, unfortunately.
I don't know the numbers, so... Whenever you miss a level up, you essentially miss out on between 2 and 6 damage per, fire cast, but that seems very minor, but as this is routed out very tightly, it actually makes a difference. So...
Good save. I probably don't need to save. This fight's not dangerous.
Yeah. The worst thing that can happen is really you miss it by, like, 1 attack. So Nizbel is a boss that really... he's really difficult casually because, his defense is super high, and the only way to lower his defense is to actually cast lightning on him. Once you did that, whenever he gets his next turn, he's going to release the lightning, and it does a lot of damage if you're not unequipped. Since we're unequipped, though, we don't actually have to worry about that at all. Like, we're going to take like 10 damage from his lightning release. Ayla maybe takes a little more because she only has 1 piece unequipped, but yeah. I think you're fine on damage. We'll see.
Actually, Chrono does have an extra magic tab versus the way that the script is supposed to go, so it should actually be okay, now that I think about it.
But yeah, as you can see, the lightning release did nothing to us. This is supposed to do like 180 damage normally, but yeah, with unequipped glitch, easy peasy.
Keep critting Ayla. Alright, it just all comes down to if I can mash Chrono's slash quick enough to get it off before he releases his energy. Yeah. Yeah, we were like 2 or 3 damage short because of the low level. Like, he might even die from that.
Did he die from the lightning? Oh, of course he did. Nice one.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's what a level does, pretty much. Dang.
Yeah. So it's only about 20 damage off.
I think in the grand scheme of things, you should still be okay RNG-wise.
Oh yeah, definitely. I wouldn't be able to do Zerk Magus with Luca, but I'm not going for that.
I think you should be caught up by now with experience. Maybe, I don't know.
Little zigzag by the door to avoid a text trigger.
Indeed. So even though we took 2 extra actions there and got hit, we should still be okay. Again, sort of a generous RNG window. We will be able to tell for sure once we get to the next... Oh, well, with that leaper attack, that might not be the case anymore.
It's still fine. It just means that Robo will get attacked for 19 instead of Chrono.
You took a lot of extra stuff there. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, we will be able to tell once we get into the next fight where we can avoid an attack, which is fortunately before we actually have to be on RNG manipulation again. We were going to get attacked no matter what there, and depending on who gets attacked and the damage number, we will be able to tell whether we're fine or not. So, and if we're not, we have a very simple reload before the next part. So, for now though, we're in Cutscene Town. This is the break part of the game.
Yep.
Gonna have to go through a lot of cutscenes right here, and fortunately we get to mash through all of it. First of all, we have to restore the Masamune, of course. Going to be using another fade out to actually glitch out the cutscene for this, making it effectively a lot faster.
Just realized I don't need to swap characters because we went dancing.
Yep. So yeah, by fading out, you actually... the game thinks that Robo right now is restoring or using the stone, which... Since Robo's not there, Melchior's not going to talk to Robo. So there's that. First of all, there's a lot of text saved that way.
Yeah, there's a lot of animation that's saved as well.
Yep. I like the blinking head for Melchior. It's pretty cool. I don't know why that's happening, but yeah, he's also running into Melchior at some points. That simply speeds up the cutscene a little bit as well.
Yeah, you gotta be careful when you're doing it. Pretty much only when he's nodding his head. Otherwise, there's a very good chance that you'll actually slow him down.
Exactly. Like, pretty much when he moves, you don't want to do it. When he's, you know, in place, you are free to do it almost. Like... And we're off to give the Masamune to Frog, and this is where the fun starts.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a bunch of cutscenes, but we can't just take a break because the game wants you to keep mashing through A.
If anyone were able to find a skip for these cutscenes, I would donate $500 to charity. Easy.
I mean, they are cool cutscenes though, but yeah.
They're amazing cutscenes. It's like 7.5 minutes of cutscenes.
Yeah.
It's the largest chunk in the game, by far.
Yeah. I mean, we sort of found a skip. We have a textless hack.
Yep.
It's not skipping the cutscenes, but you don't have to do anything.
Future skip. Alright, so Frog's gonna be pretty surprised here. I always thought this part of the game was really cool. Well, if you look at it, like, strictly, the game doesn't really open up that much, but this whole reforging the Masamune, it's relatively open. Like, the game doesn't really point you too many places. It's just like, here's the world, here's a couple time zones, figure out where you need to go from here.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good, because it gives you the opportunity to level up, because a lot of the fights on Denadoro are pretty tough. Like, the enemies, if you're just fighting them in a vanilla sense, they're gonna really tax you. Like, if you don't have a good collection of healing items, you probably can't even make it through Denadoro Mountain. So yeah, Cyrus and Glenn are fighting Nagaets and evil frogs. I think this is one of the few enemy sprites that actually isn't a creature you can fight in the game.
Well, you could probably fight him. He probably has stats, but you know, it's just he doesn't exist anywhere but here.
Yeah. I think one of the more recent Chrono Trigger ROM hacks actually made him a fightable enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our first real view of Magus. The game's kind of alluded to him a couple times, but this is our first shot at seeing how cruel and evil he is. Or at least the game's attempt to make us feel like he's cruel and evil.
I try my best, you know.
And Ozzy just playing the wingman like he does all game. Although, to be fair, the one time that you do fight Ozzy, he's got some alright attacks. As long as he's got his friends around. Alright, so let's go teach Frog magic. Wait, no.
You wished.
We'll do that a little bit later. In this category, we will actually teach Frog magic, whereas a lot of other... Oh, whoops. A lot of other categories won't. So now on to the director's cut scene. Yeah, this is where we sort of realize just how weak of a constitution Frog or Glenn had when he was younger. How much he looked up to Cyrus. And just how silly frogs look when they're knocked out. I also thought that this bridge scene, it was amazing how they used it in the cutscene, and it's like it's a location that you know because you've already traveled through it, but it seems even more cinematic. So it's Jerry with the frog marshmallows.
It's a lot of marshmallows, man.
Frog's pretty soft. Except now that he has the Masamune, he's gonna start hitting like a Mack truck. Double damage over any other character. And we're gonna put a Masamune on him to squeeze even more damage out of him.
A berserker.
And a berserker, yes. Alright, get hype, guys. This mountain's not going to stand a chance. Alright, so about 8-9 minutes ago, Magus was talking about looking at damage rolls on characters. This is the fight he was talking about. And it's pretty interesting. After this long section of cutscenes, we're going to have to start speedrunning right away. So I'm going to buffer my directions in order to get into this fight as quick as possible. And we're going to try and run away, but someone's going to get hit. Robo for 19, we're good. So this is one of the situations where there's two slightly different windows, but they will end up on the same final value when it's all said and done. We are going to safety save side, just in case. But we should be good here. Yo, B-Ran, thank you for the $20. Just in time for a little bit of Magus Castle hype.
Nice. This is my second favorite part of the game, actually. It's very close to my favorite part, but not quite there.
Shoot, I was supposed to go right first. Doesn't really matter that much. So in this part of the game, we have to run up each side of the castle so that we get the save point trigger, which will start a fight. Boom. And I guess I should grab one more mid-aether. I almost never need it because I can never fully get the new Magus fight. Alright, so we're actually going to save a little bit of time just based on the window we're in on this fight, because Robo's menu is going to come up a lot quicker, but we still lost time by getting the attack earlier. As long as Frog gets the Crimson Rain here. And a very important menu here. You cannot forget this menu. Power Scarf. Berserker, Ruby Vest. And unequip that helm. Frog doesn't need any head protection. Helmets just block Frog's ability to whistle. Alright, so this fight is pretty interesting if you've never seen it. Flea's not really going to do much here, and it's partially because of the RNG window we're on, and partially because of the Berserker on Frog. But essentially what's going to happen is Flea's going to get confused and not know who to attack, so she'll just kind of like skip her attack. And every time Frog attacks her, it resets her AI again and again and again. And, yeah, Flea's not going to do anything.
Yeah, the magic number is 11 here. Frog has 11 speed, and that's exactly the speed Flea has. And if you are in the right window, it just happens to work out perfectly that, you get these cancels every single time. So we can basically sit here until the very end of the battle, and then we can take action to finish Flea off. So pretty neat little thing.
Yeah, Frog turns it up to 11. And while this might seem kind of slow, you have to keep in mind that Flea's not making any attack, so there's no animation, there's no anything that we're waiting on. Frog's just doing all the work. Eventually, Flea will break out of this, so we are going to do some attacks with some other characters. Yeah, kind of a joke boss.
Yeah. The most notable thing about this manipulation really is that Flea usually, once you deal enough damage, will start counter-attacking, and even that we can skip with this manipulation, which is huge because the counter-attacks are... The counter-attack is very devastating. It's an AoE counter that does 100 damage, so... That could be a little bit of trouble if you look at our HP numbers, so... I'm glad we're skipping that one.
Alright.
Easy peasy.
Boss down. Now I just need to make sure I don't get into any extra fights in between here and the next boss. Because we want to preserve our RNG. All of this stuff is scripted.
Yeah. So the next boss, Slash, is going probably... I don't want to say the toughest boss since it's still on the script, but it's... Since we are all about magic defense with glitches, our physical defense really suffers, of course. And Slash mainly focuses on physical attacks in his second form, so... even though everything is manipulated, you don't want to get off script or else you can be in a world of hurt.
Yeah, luckily the window's actually pretty big at the end of the Slash fight, so if you fall off, hopefully you can still be on the correct window to stay on things for Magus.
Yep. Yeah, Magus Castle in general at the end is very generous with that, so should be very good no matter what. Yeah, fun fact about Slash actually is, with his two forms combined, he has more HP than Magus as a boss, actually. This is pretty hilarious if you ask me, but yeah.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but yeah. It's especially hilarious if you play the game 100% and refight him. He has like half the HP. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but yeah, whatever.
So doing Slash and Rocket Punch attacks here with my other characters, because if there's a crit lined up for Frog and one of the other characters attacks, they're actually going to steal it.
Yeah, the boys, that includes Robo, are generally on the same crit RNG. Generally speaking, Chrono is a little bit different than the others in that, but yeah, most of the time, and if you equip the hero medal on Frog, it's also a little bit different, but most of the crits overlap for the boys, which is pretty... which makes it relatively easy to route out, you know, when you want to give Frog an attack here.
Sorry about that hammering.
That's fine. You know, you gotta hammer a little bit on Slash.
It's true.
So it's appropriate.
Go Frog, go.
And I think we just reached $1,000, guys. Shoutouts, very nice.
That's insane.
I believe Dragon Master pushed it over. Thank you so much, dude.
Yeah, thanks, man. So we're gonna wait here. Slash is gonna do a spin cut pretty soon. After Frog gets a couple more crits in.
Yeah, gotta be a little bit wary. It's all on script, but once Slash gets enough damage in and moves to the left side, he'll start doing his actual dangerous physical attacks. And you see, he does a lot of damage, so you wanna make sure to keep or stay healthy. The Berserker, as I mentioned though, and since Frog does have the Ruby Vest, he can take a couple hits, which is very nice. That is a nice red frog in chat. I like that one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and once you put Slash below 600 HP, he also starts counter-attacking with a, yes indeed. Which does a lot of damage, so everything has to line up perfectly here. I think we're fine, yeah. Looks very good. You also want to make sure that you put Chrono's memory cursor on Slash here at the end of the battle, because for the upcoming sections of the castle we want to run away from a lot of encounters, and again, using the runaway trick with the tag menu is essential to that, so you want to have the memory cursor on that.
Where's the rest of my stuff? Wow. Sorry, my notes just, like, messed up on me. It's like... Okay, we're good.
No worries. Happens.
I highlighted something, and instead of going blue, it went black.
But yeah, up until the next boss fight, there is forced fights in this castle, but we are going to try to avoid and run from everything we can, essentially.
Yeah, like Megas was saying earlier, setting Chrono to slash memory just makes it really easy to pop into a menu and let my run counter fill up before anything happens.
Yeah, and the very nice thing about beating Slash is you do get the Slasher weapon, which actually gives you 2 speed, which is pretty huge for running away from these encounters.
In this last fight, it's very important that I run away without getting attacked, otherwise I lose my critical in the next fight.
Oh, that's right. Well, you could still slurp cut, I believe, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like the end of the world. But I like to use Luca for the first fight, and it doesn't work very well, if that's the case.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely gonna miss the quick guillotines, I can already tell.
Yeah, this room is actually really tricky. The guillotines are obviously on a set pattern, and once they hit the ground and the sparks go, you can actually run through them, and there's a very tight window where you can make it like in a effectively 1 cycle. He had to wait a little bit at the end there, but yeah. These outer sections of the castle are actually really interesting. These rollies are rolling along here. If you wait, you can pass them, but if they are like at the edge of the stair here, he can skip them quicker by just holding up there, which at the second part is going to be a little bit more difficult, but yeah. So you just move through a trap room here, a bit safe, but yeah, you don't want to fall down here. Falling down is the worst. I can hear the battle menu, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, something might have happened.
Ew. Yeah. Was a little bit slow there.
But I do believe that I'm actually able to still stay on RNG even if I get in this fight. Which makes no sense, but it does work sometimes. We'll have to see. It's not gonna happen anymore. Frog didn't crit.
Yeah, these jugglers actually are kind of weird enemies, as they change their defense depending on what you attack them with. So they start out with really high physical and very low magical defense, and then switch depending on what you do. So you kind of have to route it out in a way where you alternate between attacks, essentially. And unfortunately, since he got that extra battle, this is going to be kind of iffy. I do hope that we still end up on the good RNG for the boss at the end, but these fights could be kind of interesting here. There's 2 battles here that we have to fight. The first one is relatively straightforward. We can then run away from another encounter. And then we have to fight 4 jugglers, which is the actual struggle.
Yeah, the 4 juggler fight is pretty Pretty gross.
But yeah, this is not looking very good.
Yeah, I did oh, there's my crit. I brought Luca in here just to make sure that she got a little extra experience. 'Cause it's almost free. Lose a little bit of time, but just to shore up my XP for Black Chrono.
Yeah, for sure. Don't want to be lacking on that. So the second fight, however, I don't know why they forgot to put the no run flag on this one, but they did. So
I'll take it.
Using it. Yeah.
Alright, if we get a crit from Frog here, we still might be okay.
Yeah, since Luca is unequipped, her fire does a lot of damage. She effectively does more than double damage than what she's supposed to be doing. Fight went very well, actually.
Yeah, no extra fire attacks or anything. It's hard to say because Frog has a really high crit chance because of Hero's Medal, but that crit there means that we could still be in the right window for the Magus fight.
We are about to find out.
Yeah. I've got my notes ready if not. Oh, well now that doesn't matter at all.
No. Did you
I
get
did
to the X?
I didn't turn left. I thought I made the input to turn left, but I didn't.
Dang.
But if we're still only one window behind, then we'll know I would have been on the right window.
Okay, yeah, so these 4 switches right here, we'll have to gradually take them out, and this is why the RNG in this castle is so forgiving. There's only so many outcomes for these battles, you know, and usually what ends up happening is that even if you messed up a little bit, you will still end up on the same RNG simply because, you know, it's just like hitting a switch, so whatever. I think you're one off thing. Maybe? I don't know.
122? I don't think I have any idea where I am on the...
No, it's off, definitely.
125.
Yeah, it's one off.
That's like one early.
Yep. It's supposed to be 124, 125, right? Yeah. Or something like that.
Right.
Point is, are we improvising or reloading?
We're gonna reload, and if it doesn't work, we're improvising.
Nice, I like that. Okay. So what DD is going to try to do here is get back on RNG by reloading this reload. Let's take a look at it, actually.
Oh, I'm not doing that reload.
Oh, you're doing a different one. Huh.
Yeah.
Huh. I see. Well, that's fair.
Not even sure if this fight is on the wiki.
Reload is not on there, no. The fight might be on there. There's like a million Magus fights on the wiki, but we'll see. So yeah, this fight is supposed to be a level check for you in the game. Like, Magus is probably one of the toughest bosses in the game. The main problem that Magus has right here is that he only uses magic, really. And if you remember, the unequipped glitch gives us magic resistance, so he's not really gonna do a whole lot unless he casts fire, which we're going to try to avoid that by being on the correct RNG. We'll see whether DD was successful with the reload or not, based on what he does in reaction, but...
Yeah, we want a lightning barrier here. If it's a water, then it's no bueno.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Lovely. So this boss fight, he has 6,666 HP, which that sounds like a lot. It's not really. Again, if you would put both slash phases together, that would already be more HP, so there's that. The tricky part is this fight has 2 phases, essentially. The first one, which lasts about 3k HP, is he will, whenever he gets attacked with something, he will change his barrier, and yeah, you can only really damage him if you hit him with that element that he just casted. The one cool thing about Frog's Mass Immune is that it will lower Magus' magic defense if you hit him with it once per cycle, essentially. So that way you can deal a lot more damage with the magic you're using. Looks to be like the pattern here kind of normalized itself, which is very nice. So it stays that way. Yeah, and to put it into perspective, he's doing about 500 per lightning. Normally, if you wouldn't have the unequipped glitch, you would do about 200 damage per lightning, so yeah, unequipped definitely helps a lot here.
Yeah, we just need to do about 2,000-ish damage.
Yeah.
I think we'll do it.
The critical part about this battle is once he switches phases, he will maintain the weakness to whatever you left him on last. So you can, if you can sneak in another of that element's attack, it will actually deal a lot more damage than it should, which is really, really nice. So hopefully we can somehow line this up, even though this is off RNG.
Not too unlucky so far. Able to speak too soon.
Shadow, nifty. Shadow is really good. All of Robo's magical attacks like Laser Spin and the dual tech Rocket Roll are classified as Shadow Elemental, which is really, really handy for this battle especially.
At least we were able to sneak in a second rocket roll, and we got no fires.
Nice, this should do a lot of damage.
Now it's just a matter of mashing to finish this off. We'll definitely have to do a reload later on. Although I guess there is a chance. No, there's not a chance.
I mean, I don't know where you started this, so there is actually a chance, but no idea. If you're lucky, you might just end up on the right thing accidentally. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been known to happen every now and then.
But yeah, this second phase of Magus, he basically charges up for his ultimate spell, Dark Matter. And this spell, if you are not unequipped, will deal about 300 damage to you, which, if you see, we have at max like 270 HP. So this is the level check essentially. So this is what the game's like. Did you actually level up your characters? Okay. But with unequip, of course, and shadow resistance, it still deals like 60 damage to Frog, which with unequip, that's kind of ridiculous. So that's how powerful this tech is.
And the game doesn't really tell you how to beat Magus either, really. Like, it's kind of points you in the right direction, but it doesn't really tell you. Real question, will we still get another Dark Matter? I kind of feel like we might. Nice.
Alright, that was pretty alright.
Yeah, time loss could have been a lot worse there. We could have got a bunch of fires and had to spend like an extra minute healing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the one and only bathroom break that I get, so I shall return shortly.
Yep, this is one of the very few places where you actually do not have your mesh text for about a minute, so this is the bathroom break for the run. If you run 100% of this game, you get another bathroom break, but this is about it for any percent or any percent no lava shell skip.
Ooh, Ori and the Blind Forest? That game's a lot of fun, Dragon Master. The speedrun's pretty crazy, though. At least the one that I saw a while ago, where you're, like, playing the game in the pause menu.
That sounds fascinating.
Yeah, it's kind of very similar to Chrono Trigger in that aspect, where you're, like, skipping cutscenes by, being in a menu, so the game just kind of skips over them. Alright, so we get Ayla back. Hooray!
Yeah, Ayla is by far the best character in the game if you don't play 100%. The main reason is not only is she powerful, she just gets a very high level. Like, the others are like, you know, basically base level, whatever you are, but Ayla is always like 5 levels above you, so she, by default, is just the most powerful character. And with unequip, of course, her magic stat is usually supposed to be really bad, but with unequip glitch, that's not an issue anymore. Doing the Laruba fade out here. My personal least favorite fade out of the game, but I don't know.
Yeah, the smoke kind of increases the lag, and it's very easy to drop your fade out. So because Magus did not go to plan at all, we're going to do a reload here and get back on RNG.
Could have checked.
I could have checked, I suppose. I just already knew the answer. I was pretty sure. Thanks for the good luck.
Don't forget to put rock on item. I don't know if you did that already.
Oh, I do that a little bit later. I still use them for a bunch of fights.
Truth, it's any percent, of course. Yeah. That's where you notice that I don't actually run this category specifically.
Yeah, but you're incredibly knowledgeable about the game in general.
I mean, any percent is not really that different from, you know, no lava shell skip, except for like the differences start after Black Tyranno, essentially.
Yeah, you need more levels and more gear. It'd be awesome to have Swallow for any percent, though. Some pretty precise battle skips here. They're pixel perfect. And I try and utilize Chrono's grid, where if you don't rub up against anything, you should be set. Like, it's easier by about 50% if you don't rub up against any walls, because Chrono's set on a 2-pixel movement, and you're lined up for the grid for the skip. Okay, second really big menu, last really big menu for the game.
Yeah. It's cute that that's a big menu, actually.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly no Final Fantasy IX menu. Glove. Bronze medal. Ruby vest. Belt. Armor. Speed pad on Luca. I'm gonna do a couple things here. I just want to set Chrono's memory to Cyclone so that I can mash it a little bit later. Yeah, Chrono's Lair, there's a lot of really dangerous spots where if you get into one fight, you're probably going to get into like 3. So, gonna pay pretty close attention to all of my fight skips coming through here. Yeah, those Mega Man races are gonna be hype. I'm looking forward to watching those. Somehow Ayla is able to squeeze herself through there. Right, so the all the sections here, like I said, there's just battles everywhere, and it might look like I'm moving in funny ways, but there's just triggers everywhere, and a lot of battles here, if you get into one fight, it'll unlock like 2 other battle triggers. And some fights are literally just like back to back. Nothing you can do about it. If you get into 1, you get into 2. See if we can get a cool swag frame for Chrono. No. Yeah, if you were playing old school any %, like glitchless any %, this is where you'd be grinding for about 40 minutes.
Good times. Good times.
First fight for tech points. Now we have to fade out this boss, because this guy... Oh man, we are not high enough level to fight him.
Misspelled 2 is a very peculiar boss. He kind of works like Misspell 1, except that his defense lowers every time you use lightning on him, but if you use it 3 times, he will release it immediately. And unless you have Volt Bite, there is no real way of dealing damage to him consistently. So yeah, try fighting him with just lightning, it ain't gonna end well for you.
Yeah, and that means it's about 5 or 6 of these fights just to get to where you need to be.
Yeah, and even then, the lightning release is just like, you know, a counter. He will still keep attacking you physically, which also hurts very much, so... Unless you have, like, all characters at, like, 370 HP, it's not gonna be very fun.
The scariest room in this dungeon. So many fights in this one section.
Yeah, this looks incredibly easy, but there is a lot of battles he just dodged there.
I wasn't sure about that, but we're good. So this is something, I mean, at this point it's not new, but it's different from what it used to be where we used to just kind of mash all of our attacks during this fight and hope that we got them all in. It was incredibly stressful. But now that we put the Berserker on Ayla, she is kind of our timer for the fight. Every time she attacks, we're gonna make attacks during her animations.
Mm-hmm. There's just, I believe, one fire sword in this whole battle that you need to do off, like, you know,
Yeah.
Berserker attacks.
And the main thing here is we used to actually have to drop the battle speed for this fight, but since the Berserker is our timer now, we can actually just leave it on battle speed 1 and save a little bit of time too. This is probably the longest fight in this whole run too. This guy's got so much HP.
Yeah, so relative for where you are in the game, this guy is like 10,500 or something like that.
Yep.
So that's a whole bunch. And then you also have to you don't have to take care of Azala, but we do because it's faster. Then you can technically provoke or hypno wave Azala and just wait, but that takes a long time, of course, to just, like, you know, get that over with. So instead, since we have buffed magic, we can just take out Azala the old-fashioned way. Glitchless runs of this game actually do use Hypno Wave on Azala simply because you absolutely don't have the damage output to kill Azala, like, you know, or where it saves time to do so. So you just basically wait and then try to kill Black Tyranno in 2 cycles.
So this should kill Asla. If it doesn't, Luca's still underleveled. Okay.
Yep. Azala's final attack will inflict HP leak, which, interestingly enough, the roar of the Black Tyranno, which he's going to use to count down, it also does that, so it's not that big a deal.
This is where you first get to see... Well, I mean, we've seen it before, but Ayla's just hitting so hard here.
Yep. It's obviously routed out in a way where Ayla will crit a bunch here, and yeah, 500 damage adds as much as, you know, a Fire Sword does, which, you know, it's supposed to be much, much stronger.
Everyone get your bibs ready, we're about to have some barbecue.
So there is absolutely no way to one-cycle this guy, so you do have to be prepared to actually take this hit, like, at least once. And that is one of the reasons why Chrono got the Ruby Vest before this battle, even though he sacrificed a little bit of his magic in order to actually, you know, equip that. It is well worth it, because you live! Living is good!
I like to live. Go Ayla, go.
So after the Black Tyranno spat fire, His defense will actually increase a little bit again, so all attacks that you do during this phase are a little bit less powerful than they are when he removes his defense. So what we want to do, I mean, we can't really stop Ayla from attacking, but, you know, we want to kind of wait a little bit with Chrono and Luca here until he removes his defense again to save a little bit of animation time, maximize our damage output. This will, of course, end up making the fight as close as you possibly could make it, so it's always a bit tense at the end here, but I'm sure DD is doing this fine.
Keep critting my pretty.
You'll also notice that he won't be healing, because, well, first of all, healing loses you time, duh, and second of all, you do want to have low HP for the next part of the game.
Alright, we just learned a bunch of abilities. We're good.
Nice.
Yeah, that
Very
countdown
nice.
comes quick. But before, without the help of the Berserker to time everything, that fight was so stressful. Like, 2 slow attacks and you die, guaranteed. You pretty much have to start healing.
Well, either that, or you, in the phase where he takes less damage, you do kind of try to, you know, get in a couple extra attacks. It's not a way to make up for it, but it obviously costs you a lot of time.
Yeah, it's weird. Chrono's Slash will actually be more MP efficient than Spin Cut when he's got his defense back up.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to kind of slash, and you can do some fire swords and some... Well, we actually don't learn Flame Kick yet, so can't really do that. That was the old way to do it.
Yep, that's very old school, was Flame Kick and Spin Cut Slash.
Alright, overall, this run's going pretty good. There was a bit of that hiccup with the dancing and hiccup just before Magus, but I'm only a minute and a half behind PB.
Yeah, pretty solid so far, for sure.
Still have the best boss ever to fight, coming up in about 10 minutes or so. And this is a fight that's truly unique to this particular category. Normally you'd have Marley in your party, and you'd be trying to grind up that last few tech points to get haste, so you're able to take on the other forms of Lavos when you're doing the refights at the shell. But we're probably going to be skipping that somehow. Some wizardry. Lavos is a giant space porcupine. With a beak. Alright, so that boss I was talking about, there is one more boss before that, and that's Teleporter boss. Yeah, these teleporters that I'm going to be traveling on, if you press left or right, or just buffer the wrong direction, you'll ride them, and you have to ride it twice in order to get back to where you need to be. We get all of like 15 seconds of corridors of time here before it just goes away. It's kind of sad. It's my personal favorite track in the game. And here too, you kind of have to move to the right like half a tile, otherwise you end up sort of grinding. It's pretty tough to get that movement exactly. Minor frame saves, but it's always something good to go for. Alright. So we're not really going to do much here. We're just going to talk to the plant lady. Tell her to secretly plant it. And we have to make sure we close that text box before we leave. Otherwise it'll be all for naught. Because this category, as well as any % no Lavos shell skip, you're basically just playing the game up to the point where you can activate the Sunken Desert side quest. Because we're going to be using the Green Dream as part of a glitch later on. I'm not sure if you've seen the leaderboards for Chrono Trigger, but first, second, and third place are all kitties.
Yep, quite literally categories.
You need to play the console version. The glitch will work on the Japanese or the English version. Just has to be on console, so no DS or Steam. Alright. Remember how I said I was going to teach frogs some magic?
It's about time.
The Japanese run is a little bit different than the English run because the unequipped glitch works slightly differently. It doesn't give you a magic boost. So a lot of the fights end up being different. But this is actually the reason why English is actually faster than Japanese, even though the Japanese text is like lightning fast compared to the English. In the English version, you get a boost to your magic attack because of the unequipped glitch, so you end up saving a whole bunch of cycles on bosses. Yeah, it's super rare. And I mean, there could be something discovered on the Japanese version which makes it faster again. As it stands right now, the English version is faster. Bronze Medal Chrono. Best. Or Scarf. Mila. Oh. Of. So in the version where you are doing Lavos Shell, you pretty much have to fight a bunch of fights here to get that last few tech points for Marley. But in this version, we don't need to fight those fights. We can just run away. Just have to avoid this last fight here. Oops, okay. And I can actually fade out this cutscene here. It's slightly faster, but It's really tough to get it where it'll actually save time. Okay. This fight can be pretty dangerous. So let's see how this goes.
Yeah, this is Retinite, and we didn't actually get to see Zombor earlier, but this is basically a rehash of that boss, except it has a new part to it. The Zombor was just 2 parts, this boss is 3 parts. So the top and bottom part are basically trying to kill you and trying to kill their core in the middle. Since this is a sand boss, you have to cast either ice or water type magic on the parts to actually deal damage. If the core dies, the defense down you inflict by casting water or ice will actually not stay on the other parts that you casted it on, but gradually degrade again. And the worst part is that if the core dies, the boss enrages, so he will just like not only get faster but also get more devastating attacks. So the goal to this battle is really to focus on one part at a time and kill them as fast as possible so they stop absorbing the core in the middle. It's of course RNG manipulated, but yeah. The bottom line is don't let the core die or you will be in trouble. The good news is that you already saw that by he used lightning on the core once. He actually absorbs lightning, so you can refresh his HP by just doing that over and over again if you're in a pinch. Since we're so underleveled though, this will take quite a while actually, because I believe the parts have like 5,000 HP roughly.
It's like 3k and change.
Really? I think a 3k Uzi punch and glitches doesn't kill it, but I don't know.
Yeah, it could be a little bit more. I'm actually off RNG here, but it's not a big deal for this fight. As long as you heal the middle.
I think it's a little bit more HP, but yeah, I mean, as long as you keep the middle up, like you said, it's fine. It's alright. Who needs RNG manipulation anyways?
Frog's gonna do another item.
Yeah. Again, this is a side quest you're not really supposed to do until after you did all of the Zeal things. Like, literally, you're not... They intended you to not do this early, even though they gave you access to it. But, yeah.
But yeah, Frog's definitely able to output more damage than Marley, which is why we're using him instead of her.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. He's not only faster, also stronger, obviously. So, yeah it's a no-brainer.
Need to make sure that bottom half dies.
Yep, that's half the battle, really. Because now there's only one part max that absorbs the core, if at all. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, 5k, see? I sometimes know my stuff. Sometimes.
Uh-oh, the core just died. That's no good.
You should be fine. You should be fine. The thing is with unequipped, oh, not all of your characters are unequipped, I just saw that.
Yeah.
Yuck. Yeah, some of his attacks are magic based, so like that should still work out reasonably well. He has a fire attack as well now though, so and Ayla doesn't really have any magic defense now, so this could get interesting, boys and girls. Giddy up.
I think this attack's really dangerous. Yeah, we're essentially dead here. Even though Chrono got that off, we're gonna have to reload, unfortunately.
Alright, so after this demonstration on how not to do it, we're going to actually get the fight right this time.
I had a small feeling that I was off RNG, because in this fight that I'm in right now, they normally all face upwards, and the previous time, the lower guy faced downwards.
Mm-hmm.
No big deal.
This is fine.
Yeah, this is probably the toughest fight, or at least the least forgiving fight.
Yeah. Like, even if you fight this guy immediately after you did all of the Zeal stuff and all that good stuff, even with the Swallow, it's still kind of difficult to do it properly, so... And we have, like, literally no levels, no gear, no nothing, we're just going in raw.
I knew I should have just done another safety heal on the core. Yeah, all the menus here seem a lot better, a lot more along what they're supposed to be. Frog's actually critting. Miss. Cyclone. I'll be on Ayla. Spin cut, Rolo. So in comes a Quake. Keep critting my amphibian friend. Yeah, we should be good here. Yeah, this is how this fight's supposed to go. So 6x strikes and Rolo kick. Making sure not to attack the eyeball. Two. Three. 4. I'm counting because I still have to set frog to item here. Five. Six. And then I believe the spin cut here from Chrono will kill.
And if it doesn't, we're close, so that's all that matters at this point.
Yeah. This guy's just gonna run away.
Yeah. And unlike in the no lava shell skip category, the core running away doesn't actually matter. The core does give a lot of XP and tech points, which is actually kind of handy if you're low level, but for our run here, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, and we actually save time by letting it run away because we don't learn all the techs at the end of the battle.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. And once you beat Rats and Night, there are supposed to be a lot of battles here, but they all disappear, even if you didn't fight them beforehand, so that's also kind of handy.
Alright, so complete the Green Dream side quest.
Yeah.
Let Robo do his work.
Did you pick up the castle elixir?
I'll be doing that soon.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I have to use the the portal in Guardia Forest to get back, so I do that on the way there.
Oh, I see, yeah, that makes sense.
So long, 600. This is the last we'll see of you. Yeah, there's pretty much just getting 2 more items, and then we're gonna glitch the crap at the end of this game. I guess we'll talk about the elixir glitch a little bit, just so that you guys aren't completely mind blown when you see it. So the whole point of this side quest is to go get the Green Dream, and the Green Dream, if you've played this game, it's a pretty powerful item. It'll give your party member a one-time re-raise in a fight, so if they die, they'll come back to life. And there's a glitch that happens with that item where it'll allow you to use an item on an enemy, which you're not really supposed to be able to do. And an elixir, the way that it's programmed, it will heal an enemy for its full HP amount. And if the enemy has enough HP, you'll actually overflow his health, and it'll become a negative number, and the game just kills it instantly. So it's pretty important that we're going to sit through this cutscene here so we can find the Green Dream.
Yep. Unfortunate that there are not more Green Dreams in this game, but yeah.
Imagine if you can charm it off a blue imp and we just never knew. Shall we turn in for the night? Yeah, and for speedrunning anyway, if it was quicker not to save Luca's mom, that's what we do. But luckily for us, and luckily for Luca's mom, it's quicker to save her. It's another instance where you can just hold the L, A, and R button when you're inputting the password, and the game will just put them in the right order for you.
Yep.
Oh, I am pretty thirsty. Thanks for the hydration bot reminder. And one thing I noticed when I played the Steam version of this game is that the conveyor belt was already running before Luca's mom went over there. And it just kind of boggles the mind. Like, we all kind of knew that Tabin was reckless and careless with his inventions, but actually leaving something like that just on? Pretty crazy. Alright. So we have the Green Dream. Last thing we need is a second elixir. We have one, but we need number 2.
Yep. Unfortunately, elixirs are supposed to open up to you again after you did all the zeal thing in the story. The first elixir you're supposed to be finding is in the Ocean Palace. That's like literally the game saying, "Hey, this should be the first elixir you get." But by doing the side quests a little bit early, because they open up as soon as you pretty much unlock zeal, you can get 2 elixirs right here for the low price of a couple minutes, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, I still remember the old days of having to go to 2300 to get the second elixir.
Yep.
There is an elixir super early in the game.
Oh yeah. Try to get that. Yeah.
It's very RNG. Like, of the RNG in this game, that is the most RNG.
Yeah, technically
And
you
I'm
can
just-
get an elixir in the reptile lair. But you need the how are they called? Weevils, or
weevils,
whatever. Yeah. You need them to drill holes for you. And that is so RNG. That's why we don't do that. Like, there's literally no guarantee that they even do it for you. So, yeah, good luck doing that.
Alright, here we go. This is Lavos Shell Skip. I'm gonna try get it in the first 2 or 3 tries. It's a pretty convoluted trick, so there is a chance that I might mess it up.
Yep. The general idea for this trick is the same as earlier, the save anywhere that we got at the end of time. It's just a little bit more involved. Just like basically try the end of time save anywhere times 4 roughly in difficulty. First mandatory thing we have to do is we actually have to split up our party a slight tad here. And we do that by activating the text box and then running around and opening our menu like crazy. That will actually make the AI split up with you just a little bit, and depending on how they end up, DD will know that he has a good breakaway there. He needs to store a couple of gates here, and then needs to try to position himself, and the same deal as with at the end of time save anywhere, you need to hit a very specific frame, and he's going to try to pause buffer for it. To actually be able to not be paralyzed and adjust your position for the skip. Oh, he got a verdict. Oh, dude. Oh, dude. Oh, dude. See what he's doing now is he's getting sucked into the Lavos gate. But by doing all the things he does, he can try to change his coordinates on where the gate pops him out. And I think he might actually get it first try here.
It's gonna be close. I think I'm in there. First try is pretty hype.
That would be pretty insane. So yeah, all this like menu opening and pause buffering is all adjusting. The pause buffering is to actually get the zip properly, and all the menu opening at the end there, he basically changes the coordinates where the gate is popping him out. Usually you are supposed to pop out on the map at the way at the bottom, where you get the Lavos cutscene and all that. By doing all of this, he lets the game pop him out inside of the shell, and inside of the shell, there is a trigger that if you are there with your characters, it automatically transitions you inside. So he just like basically skipped the whole shebang with the Lavos shell in one swift go. Very hype, very nice.
Yeah, definitely got my heart pounding there. Holy smokes.
I will need a lot of PogChamps in chat right now, my friends, because that is the hardest trick that you can do in Chrono Trigger. So I will need a lot more PogChamps and or hypes in chat. Let's go, boys.
Alright, pretty sure my load's correct here. So yeah, because the game still thinks Frog is dead, I can't target any of my party members with items, so it defaults to an enemy. And with some little controller magic, I just heal Lavos and he dies. There's some PogChamps. Oh man. Yeah, I had to mash really, really hard on that last little bit of the lava shell skip, because opening and closing the menu is what stores your X and Y position.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hitting both menu buttons as fast as I could.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, there's no escaping the sound of that, for sure.
Yeah, the trick is actually kind of RNG, like, if you even get it, so that he got the good RNG there on the first roll and then executed that well, that's super, super impressive. Alright, it's final boss time.
Chrono dies to the time warp. And time.
Woo! Nice, dude. GG.
241.32. Pretty happy about that. So yeah, the game definitely chugs a little bit here at the end, but he will die.
Yeah, the time is essentially last input because the time it takes for the Lavos core to actually die can vary, just because the game is trying to figure out what the heck is just happening, so...
Yeah.
GG, very well done, and I mean, I would have expected this kind of time if you took a couple more tries with LSS, but getting that first try and just, you know...
Yeah, definitely saved the run to a point. Like, I'm still 7 minutes behind my PB, but
yeah.
I'm really not happy. That's still almost 14 minutes under estimate.
Yeah. The trick can take multiple minutes, if not, you know, I mean, I've seen people take half an hour to an hour for getting lava shell skip, and to an extent, sometimes it's not the runner's fault, so...
Yeah, it's about 50-50, a little worse than, based on the breakaway.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess we'll, I know we're a little bit behind schedule.